Welcome to another edition of the We Talk Chelsea podcast, a podcast of Chelsea supporting friends united for a love of Chelsea Football Club. And lads, the Premier League is back, and Chelsea don't look terrible. How are we feeling about that?
I'll be honest with you. I thought, I woke up this morning with a spring in my step, and I just thought that was a really good performance yesterday, wasn't it? All round, I thought, it was a very up and down game, a typical Chelsea Liverpool. But I thought we did okay. What do you reckon, Tim?
Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I thought we did a lot better than we would. I thought Chelsea looked a much better team, and we actually gave it a good go. I'm actually looking somewhat optimistic for this season.
Which is, completely compared to where you were at this time last week. You weren't looking particularly optimistic at all. We're
Yeah.
live on YouTube and then live on TKS TV. So if you are watching us, hello, welcome. We are also trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of August. We kind of set ourselves this little challenge. So if you haven't subscribed to us already and you're watching us now, please make sure you hit that subscribe link. I really appreciate that. Want to get to 100? It'd be great. We can have our own URL. Apparently that's the thing now. That's the next stage. But we may as well get straight to it. We may as well go looking into Chelsea won, Liverpool won at the weekend, kicking off the Premier League season, and definitely signs of positivity from the Chelsea teams. What we're going to probably do is, if you watched the podcast last week, is we're going to bring back Kaz as well. Kaz is going to bring as our Liverpool fan, so I'm just waiting for him to turn his camera on, and I'll add him to the stream just now. There he is. Hey, Kaz, how you doing?
Hello, I'm all right. How are you guys? Guys, good?
Not
very good.
too bad. Not too bad. So it's definitely much a battle of the teams with no, midfield essentially. It was an interesting game. What we'll do is we'll go with Kaz to begin with on this one. Like from your perspective, things started out in particular. It started out very badly for Chelsea. I was worried. I think within 2 minutes, Tim sent a message to the group chat, and it's just like, oh no, it's looking like a repeating of last season. But how did you feel in the first? Definitely felt like Liverpool were a stronger team in the first 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree with you. Yeah, for like 20 to 30 minutes, they played like the old Liverpool, the intensity, the quick attack, everything just looked like, oh my God, I'm watching that Liverpool that won the season a few years back. So it looked really good, to be honest. Yeah.
And it could have been all over essentially with that Mo Salah disallowed goal initially from the outset. I mean, I personally don't think it was. I don't think it was a goal. Like that could just be biased. But obviously, you're a Liverpool fan. I mean, did you think?
Yep.
Could you argue for it potentially being? Probably.
Personally, I think it was offside. Like, because it looked he was offside. You're talking about the second goal that was given.
Yeah, for the rule. Yeah, the ruled out goal.
Oh yeah, definitely it's offside. Like it's the same as the Chilwell sort of situation. They were offside because their body was pretty much over in front of the defender. So yeah, it's definitely offside to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely wish that it probably maybe just we would have kept Timo Werner if we had that offside role coming to play a little bit sooner. But yeah, it was just very much a game of two. Well, don't want to say two halves, but if it was like American football, Liverpool won the first quarter and Chelsea won the last 3 quarters essentially. But let's go through it. So, Tim, we'll go across you two in this scenario. You last week you thought we were going to get our pants pulled down essentially, going to end 3-1 loss. You thought Liverpool going to dominate, but like we said in the outset, it's looking like that Chelsea could potentially be. We're on the right track. We're definitely on an upward trajectory. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that first 30 minutes pretty much confirmed my worries, I think. I still think something that this Chelsea team needs to get better at is defending, because I thought it wasn't a case of Chelsea being that good. I actually thought Liverpool were quite bad. And something I want to mention later on when we talk about the second half of the game. If you saw when they attacked us, we looked pretty much very scared of their attack more than they looked of ours, if that makes sense. I think we just played the outlet ball a lot quicker than they did and made the correct passes, if that makes sense. Whereas I think they're still kind of in like how we are in a transition phase where they're trying to work out with their new midfield how to quickly play the ball. But having said that, we did bounce back well, and I think that VAR did really help us, because if that was 2-0 at that point, I think that game is over. I think Chelsea are dusted and Liverpool see out that game. So I will say that I felt was a big turning point for us being 1-0 down and still just keeping in the game. I thought we fought ourselves back in very well and, played really well second half.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that I said in the comments is like, get your lads, as soon as that goal went and went, Chelsea last season, this would be game over. This is very much the measuring stick to see how things have gone in pre-season. If this game, if we were playing Liverpool at this point last season, at any point last season, let's face it, I think we would probably have rolled over and then it would have been 3, 4, 5-0 potentially to Liverpool. But it's looking like positive signs, Charlie. How do you feel about Chelsea currently at the moment from what you've seen so far in the Premier League, 22 minutes aside or 29 minutes aside?
I think it was fairly positive, wasn't it, overall? But I think, there was plenty to improve on. I mean, those first 20 minutes was a complete mess, in my opinion. It really was.
Yeah.
It was carnage. If the line in the back three was diagonal. It wasn't even a line. It was diagonal, especially for the first goal. The second goal, I thought Colwell was getting completely. Salah had way too much space. But what I will say as a positive is that they recovered from that initial, and I don't think it was their fault. It was an unusual system. We said this before the game. It was unusual, wasn't it? Because we expected a 4 at the back and it became a 3. And you've got to remember, if you include the goalkeeper, those 3 plus the goalkeeper, 3 of them were on a debut, right? So and one of them had never played. So you've got 2 of them had never played. So you've got to look at it in that sense. They've never played together, but it was they got it together. And I think what we found yesterday was a bit of pride, a bit of passion, a bit of pride that we didn't have last season, and that's what we were missing. And I think it was a good point. Let's put it that way. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I think it was very much. The opening 30 minutes aside, but from a Chelsea perspective, was bad. It looked very much like I was watching the same team from last season, just different players. It kind of just went that way. And I thought Salah was having Colwell on toast for the first third of the game. He really was. He wasn't getting any support from Ben Chilwell. Like I said, for the benefit of the people watching, I don't think that is Ben Chilwell's fault. I think he was been told by Pochettino, look, I want you to stay as far up the pitch as possible to be that outlet pass. But the problem was when we were getting the ball, we weren't making that outlet pass quick enough. I just think Salah looked very, very dangerous, and we were very, very fortunate that he was offside for that second goal. Because I think if that second goal had gone, it would have been completely game over. I mean, Kaz, did you feel deflated with the wins taken out your sails when that second goal had gone in? Do you think that, okay, well, we're just going to keep going, or do you think, we don't have enough?
Yeah, to be honest, I felt like when that goal happened and then it was disallowed, I thought Liverpool would keep the momentum, but instead it kind of went back on them, and then it kind of went towards Chelsea's way, and Chelsea sort of got like a heated feeling that, look, we got a chance now, so we're going to go for it. And about a few minutes later, Chelsea go and score and equalise. So it kind of helped Chelsea out a lot more than us. I think it did deflate us a lot from that offside goal, yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate this is like the We Talk Chelsea podcast, but obviously we want to speak to people that we have on in that scenario. I mean, we want to talk about Liverpool. I think it's very much the battle of the no midfields this game. You're having, was it Macallister was playing in as a number 6 role, and then who else is in the number 6 position?
We had Szoboszlai, and Macallister, and then there was Gakpo in the centre mid as well with him, which was a bit different than what I expected, obviously, for him to play in that cam role. So. Yeah, it was interesting. And as I was watching the game, I noticed that Liverpool do need a CDM because, to be honest, comparing it to Enzo Fernandez, he had a quality game, man of the match, of course, and it shows that how he plays that CDM role, he picks up a lot of the mess and cleans up the Chelsea midfield. So we lacked on that part, I feel like. And I noticed also there was a lot of slow playing, like just across the field, and there wasn't too much like going for it and trying to go for the attack. So we lacked in that side a lot of it defensively.
Tim, you occasionally see things that I don't see, and then some of us don't even think of or even consider. I just want to talk about Enzo Fernandez. For me personally, it's probably one of his better games in a Chelsea shirt from what I've seen so far. Is it one of his better games, or was it because of the Liverpool midfield not quite being, they're not central midfielders? Was it simply just him being in his preferred position and, running riot? He looked like he was
No,
very much running the show.
I actually going to take a different perspective on it. I think the first 30 minutes, we didn't know how to deal with their midfield. If you saw early on, you saw Szoboszlai picking up a right wing sort of position right behind Salah. And
Yep.
he had like the sort of task of marking Chilwell. A lot of times I saw Chilwell get forward and Szoboszlai and sort of Trent doubled up on him and, kind of pressed him. A lot of the times Chilwell did lose the ball, or Chukwuemeka around that right-hand side where they sort of squeezed them. And what Liverpool were doing really well was giving it to Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai would pass it back to Macallister in midfield. And when they did keep the ball, they would try find Salah get him like on a 1v1 against Colwell, because I think on the opposite side, they didn't really attack down that side. I felt like Reece James was pushed quite high up. Raheem Sterling was pushed quite high up. And, Robertson, I've never seen him have a quieter game against Chelsea than I did this season. I only remember him once in like the 60th or 70th minute. I saw him going forward and I was like, you know what? Wow. Like we actually contained them quite a lot in terms of on the left-hand side. So I felt like they had a lopsided attack. A lot of the time they were really trying to get the ball to Salah as much as they could. But Colwell, I think over time started reading what Salah was going to do. And then Chilwell was coming over to cover him. So was Thiago Silva. So in terms of your answer about Enzo Fernandez, I think it was more when Chelsea got rhythm of what Liverpool were doing, we were able to see the best of him, because I think with Enzo, you do need he needs a more defensive partner next to him to get the best out of his game. But in terms of running the show, after the first 30 minutes, when we got a grip of things, he definitely was the star man in our team. And will have to say, Conor Gallagher also did put a really good shift in defensively to, supplement for that performance.
Yeah, Conor Gallagher is a player that we've been kind of critical of in terms of appearing sometimes to run around a bit like a headless chicken, but it's definitely one of his final performances in a Chelsea shirt. Kaz, before you jump off, I just wanted to speak to you. Just a couple of things before. Were you surprised with the lineup that Jurgen Klopp went with? He's got a recognised centre midfielder on the bench in Curtis Jones. Would that not have been the time for him to play him and then maybe not have these players played out of position?
Yeah, I thought he would probably start Curtis Jones because he has the experience playing, obviously, previously before against Chelsea. So I was a bit like starting the new starters is a bit like, was it a bit rational for him? But he probably thought give it a chance to see how they get on. And then obviously another thing that I noticed that he started Jota instead of Darwin Núñez.
Yeah,
and that really surprised me because Darwin Núñez, he's quite energized and he can go for it. But I was just a bit surprised that he didn't play him because Jota had a quiet game and you guys contained him as well, to be honest, most of the game. And then also, like Temba messaged about Robertson having a poor game. Yeah, to be honest, Stephen, I noticed that they did really well on that flank, to be honest. Even Reece James, he was causing problems every time on that side, and Liverpool were getting outplayed every time on that side. But yeah, I'd agree with the Curtis Jones not playing. But coming on, he did make a difference a little bit, but still wasn't really enough, to be honest, to obviously.
Yeah, can I just add to that as well? This I was going to mention earlier. I know a lot of people were surprised when Liverpool changed to a 4-3-3 and Salah was brought off.
Yes.
But if you actually saw how well, I don't know what the young player's name that came on, and
Leo or something, and no,
yeah. And Curtis Jones. They actually
Harvey Davis, Harvey or whatever his name is.
I'm not sure.
That guy.
Harvey Davis.
The blonde hair bloke.
Yeah. And Núñez, to be honest, as well, when he came on, you saw the intensity of Liverpool and they sort of put a fear into Chelsea. For the last 15, 20 minutes, you saw us misplacing a lot of passes. We weren't cool and calm and collected on the ball. And it was just how well they pressed. And I think it was something that I noticed that Liverpool didn't really have with Salah and Jota. I think you gave us too much time to play out the back. As soon as the ball went to Sanchez, he had ages of time to pick out Silva, Disasi, and who. It's only
in the second half. But in the first half, straight on us.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah,
second half, we had the whole of our half to ourselves, didn't we?
And I think Klopp noticed that. He noticed the intensity had dropped majorly off, and it is something, I suppose, when you're a big player or something, you sort of conserve your energy for the big moments. And he probably thought, okay, this is Stamford Bridge. It's the 70th minute. There's players who are young, hungry, gonna come on and give us a bit of impetus to go forward. And I don't blame him, because you guys could have gone on to win that second half, that last 20 minutes. It was a game where we didn't take our chances, I would say. And then that last 20 minutes, Liverpool completely dominated that. I think we were sort of lucky to escape without maybe conceding a goal there, and so were used with that last minute chance we had. But I think if you had played Nunez from the start, because he actually took off a shot that
Hit deflection.
It deflected, I think, on one of your players.
Yeah. But even so, I didn't really see Jota do that from the middle. Didn't really see Salah do that, apart from the two chances. And it sort of just, you kept this constant relentless pressure, which, like you said, the first 20 minutes was clearly abundant. Like, you guys were the better team, and I just don't really blame Klopp for taking Salah off. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Oh, and the last point. Sorry, I did say it was a battle of the game was going to be won on the wings, and I think we definitely saw that. The wing play was heavily dominant on both sides. Your goal came from Salah pushing, going 1v1 v Colwell, switching the ball across and goal. Well, ours came from a corner, but most of our attacks came through James or Chilwell, and that's the way we penetrated you, to be honest. And that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah. Well, Kaz, I greatly appreciate you joining us this week. Come back on after your appearance last week. I'd like to say I wish you luck for the rest of the season, but I think that'd be very disingenuous of me. I hope you do very, very badly. But we'd love for you to come back on when Chelsea make their way up to Liverpool later on in the season.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
Kaz, what do you think of Lavia and Caicedo?
To be honest, you know what? Chelsea did a smart one to sneak away and take them from us, because what you guys did was you always had Caicedo in mind, and then Liverpool tried to come out with a crazy bid and try to take him over, which made Lavia think, damn, I'm second choice. So you guys took him as well from us. So, I can't really say much, to be honest. Now it's a bit of a thingy for Liverpool, where it's a bit of like a panic, because now who do they sign? So that's what we're going to be going through for the whole season now. So we'll see what goes on. But
I hear Bakayoko.
Before I go, I do want to add something. I do want to add something before I go. So there was a point in the game where I don't know what you guys' opinion is on it, but what do you think about the handball that Chelsea that happened? Which what do you feel as?
I was going to discuss it a bit later on, but we'll do it. But it's not a handball. It's
not handball.
It isn't. It's not handball at all. The hand is close to his chest like this. Like, he's not done this. He's not moved it like this. He's not got his arm in the air like that. He's not jumped in it. He's put his arms to his chest to kind of protect himself. He's made himself smaller. And I just think it just wasn't a handball. Maybe this is bias. I'm sure there's people out there that probably think it probably was. But they're wrong.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
For me, well, to be honest, I personally, to be honest, being realistic, I don't think it is a penalty, only because his hand was pretty close to his chest, and also he wasn't even, he's oblivious to it, to be honest. But but a lot of people would say it's handball, to be honest, the way it looks, like, because it's the way his hand was. But I agree that it's not handball.
I bet that and Kaz is dropping in and out. But Kaz, no, I appreciate it. We'll get you back on at the end of the season when we make our return up to Anfield. Appreciate you for joining us.
Really,
take care, soon. Take care, Kaz.
Thanks, Kaz.
We got Caicedo and they've got no one. Anyway, he's just in the background here now. It's just logging off now. But I thought we'd probably best to kind of approach some of the individualism, the individual performances for Chelsea's players. Like Charlie mentioned, a lot of debuts, Premier League debuts in the team. Robert Sanchez, Axel Disasi, Mali Gusto, Leslie Ugochukwu, Ian Matson, Nicolas Jackson, a lot of debuts, and there's a lot of positives to take from it. I think I want to go through kind of these like debuts, and I think we'll kind of give a little bit of an overview of what we saw. We'll start at the very top. We'll look at Rob Sanchez looking likely to be the new Chelsea #1 now that Kepa has left to join Real Madrid on a season-long loan. I think I speak for all Chelsea fans, but we hope he does fantastically well, and Real Madrid at the end of the season want to put a very hefty bid in for him, because I think a lot of Chelsea fans would be more than happy for the club to accept that. How do we feel that Robert Sanchez did? I thought he was different compared to Kepa. He definitely looked bigger in the goal than Kepa did, and he was in black and black slimming. That's why I wear black majority of the time. Commanded some of the crosses as well, but there was a few somewhat shaky moments in terms of errant passes. Charlie, how do you feel like Robert Sanchez performed on his debut?
I think it was fine. It was okay. I don't look as a goalkeeper. If you do nothing wrong, I think that's probably an okay performance. He was confident. I think the way there was a moment at the very end of the game where he took that cross, a corner or something like that, took that very confidently, and that led up to the Mudryk chance at the end. I think. I think he had a pretty good performance, bearing in mind. That he's never played with this group of players before, and I think it was fine. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, Tim, you had a different perspective on this one.
Yeah, I thought he was. No, I'm joking. I did actually think he was quite shaky, to be honest. I didn't think he had the best performance, but granted, it's his first game, so I'll give him that. I think you saw a lot of nerves in the way he came out for some of the shots and even some of the parries he did. I was just a bit like, is this guy a bit sure of himself? Is he confident? I'm not quite sure. Maybe the nerves got to him. But at the end of the game, that big claim of a cross, we have not seen that for years.
Yeah.
Well, since a confident Mendy was at the helm, pretty much. Even him sometimes he would flap at the ball. But
I would say
to do it and to distribute it well, distribute it in a stalemate where we need the goal to distribute that. Where
that's another thing I would say that really used to annoy me about Kepa, Mendy, or anyone. How many times would you see us catch the ball from a cross and they're looking to play it out quickly, but they don't pick out anyone, and then that 5-10 seconds later, that counter attack is already gone.
Yeah. And
yeah,
the defensive teams they can get their shape once again, and it's like you said, that last 94th minute, clearance out to Mudryk for him to try and run through, almost winning the game at the end. It's definitely something that we wouldn't have seen last season. I'd argue that potentially even before Mendy, I don't remember Mendy being particularly strong in coming to claim crosses. Maybe this is just recency bias coming into play, but I think the last very strong goalkeeper that we had was Thibaut Courtois. And may he hope he recovers very, very quickly. Let's move across to the guy that got his debut goal, Axel Disasi, signed from Monaco for 45 million euros last week. How do we feel that we got on? He looked kind of solid. I think in the first 20 minutes he looked a bit nervous, but that could potentially be just something that he's only just joined the club recently. He's kind of getting used to the system. I don't think I personally didn't expect him to play, if I'm completely honest, Charlie. How do you think he performed against tough opposition in Liverpool?
I thought defensively, like you say, for the first 20 minutes, he was very shaky. To be honest, I was actually really nervous about him. But he got the goal, and after that, I think he got a real spring in his step. And that celebration for the goal, there's something in that. He seemed to really enjoy that, didn't he? He really sees this as a big opportunity for himself. And look, I think that I really hope that he has a great career at the club. I think that was a brilliant debut. It'll never be forgotten. It will never be forgotten. Let's put it that way. Tim?
Yeah, totally agree with Charlie. I don't think I can add any more. I don't know what you think, Tom.
Again, he scores a goal. It's what you want him to do. I mean, the only thing that worries me is the fact that we didn't score a goal from an attacking player and we're getting it from a defensive player once again. But it's very early days. This is round 1 of 38, so we should see as we go through. Let's move across to Liverpool. By all means, feel free.
Yeah. I think that's the next main worry of mine. I still don't see where the goals. Like I think I put in the chat that a lot of our losses last season I can now see being draws with how much we've improved with playing. I think now it's more about fixing that front line. I still don't think there's enough goals with just Jackson in there. And if you looked at that bench, who really to change the game, it was really only Mudryk, I think, one of our attackers. I saw Mason Burstow, Ian Matson, but is he really an attacker? I'm not quite sure. And, if, God forbid, if Jackson gets a knock for one game, where do we really go from there?
Yeah, I mean, Brozier is currently in returning back to fitness as well. He's training with the first team. He's not doing his rehab. He's getting match fit currently as we speak. So hopefully Armando Brozier can be that man to kind of fill that gap should we need to. We'll move across to some of the other debuts in defence. Levi Colwill, obviously heavily touted to join Brighton. Obviously signed a new 7-year deal with Chelsea. I think we can all agree, Salah had him on toast for the first 30 minutes. Not the best starts, but I think he grew into the game. I think he became more confident and assured. A few tackles, and we're seeing some of the distribution that he was that he exhibited for the under-21s in the Euros in the summer. He's looking like he could potentially be a mainstay for the backline for Chelsea for at least a few years, despite the early shaky start. Do you think, Tam?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how to quite answer that, to be honest.
Well, try. It's a podcast. You got no choice.
What do you mean in terms of like his performance? Do you think he's good
do you feel he grew into the game? Definitely he struggled with Salah. Let's face it, he struggled with Salah without the support on the left side of Ben Chilwell, which is probably a Pochettino thing. Pochettino probably should have said, you know what, Ben, just sit back a little bit for us for just the first bit. Just help that boy out. Just help him settle his nerves, and then help him grow into the game. But I think it definitely like a slow start for him.
Yeah, and I found it interesting that Pochettino made a comment saying that we were meant to start as a back four originally, and Chilwell was supposed to be an auxiliary, like sort of left winger.
Yeah.
So that was a bit strange from my perspective. It definitely looked like a solid back three and 2 wing backs. So I'm not sure if the advice for Chilwell was to stay very high up and leave Colwill 1v1 v Salah, because I still think that was very dangerous, especially with Colwill only being 19 years old and not too much Premier League experience. He's up against one of the very world's best. But yeah, over time in the game, he did grow into it, and that's one thing you can't discount Colwill on his passing ability. I think I'm yet to see more of his defensive side of the game. But in terms of on the ball, I think he's probably one of our best players on the ball. He can pick out a pass, play it out in tight spaces, and take the ball down from, good range. And he can play a long ball if needs be as well. So he's very composed in that sense. As the game grew on, I think Salah went more quiet. I'm not sure if that was down to Colwill exactly, but in terms of what he was tasked to do, I think he did all right. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really see Salah go too many times versus Colwill. It was just that first 20 minutes, I'd say.
Charlie, I appreciate it's probably, it's early days, 90 however many minutes into his career. He's taken the number 26 shirt, famously worn by Kalidou Koulibaly for Chelsea. Do you think, have you seen a little sparkle that might potentially, bring some glory back to that number?
I'll be honest, I haven't seen enough of him yet. But from what I've seen so far, he looks like Tem says, very good on the ball. Defensively, he's got a mistake in him at the moment. But I think he reminds me of Wes Fofana. I think that those two can make a really nice partnership in years to come. So let's see how it goes. It's very early to say, isn't it, at the moment? So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think one of the things we might see him do is he becomes more defensively assured. This is, again, just my opinion. I think he could potentially take up the role that Thiago Silva currently has at the moment in terms of the middle of the three, helping to bring Chile on the left side. That's probably my opinion. It's probably wrong, but we shall see when Thiago Silva, no doubt, probably leaves at the end of the season. We can talk about other people. Let's talk about the not so good. Obviously, the one thing from last season we definitely needed was cover for Reece James. Reece James' fitness issues last season, well documented. Troubles with his hamstring, troubles with all areas of his legs, let's face it. So we need to cover. Amali Gusto was a smart signing, signed from Lyon in January last year. Last season, and he came on and he looked very, very good in pre-season. And you mentioned Tem, he's defensively he's very, very solid, and we saw more attacks going down that left side, and we needed to shore up. James fortunately went off. We needed somebody to take over that mantelpiece from James, so we can get the rest and not, run himself stupid, and really protect him. But it wasn't the best of starts for him, was it? Let's face it.
No, I think he was trying almost too hard to impress. I think in preseason he did all the very simple things very, very well, and he quite actually did very well going forward as well. I saw like a couple of instances where he passed it to Sterling out wide, and then there was a clear chance for him to overlap, and then he sort of sat back, and then I was kind of thinking, are you trying to play conservative or are you trying to go forward? But then a lot of his passing said the opposite. Like he played a lot of dangerous passes into the middle out of nowhere, and I'm thinking this is where I was thinking the whole team started doing it the last 15-20 minutes, and the lack of experience started really showing, and I was just like, do you guys know how important this game is? Like, you don't play passes like that in the last 15-20 minutes of a game. If you turn over that ball once, Liverpool are still Liverpool. They're not Aldershot Town or something. But they're gonna punish you at the end of the day. Just because they've taken Salah off doesn't mean they won't score a goal in a quick flash. You have to show them respect at the same time. And yeah, just a lot of inexperience there. I hope Pochettino has a word with them. Well, he definitely will have a word with them, and they sort of learn from that. But yeah, it was just a thing of a lack of experience that really showed in that sub-appearance performance, and I think I could say that about most of them.
Yeah. And Charlie, you mentioned, especially when it came to some of our signings, we definitely needed to shore up in our number 9 position. I thought Nicolas Jackson had a very lively game. I think you've said previously, Chelsea need a bit of a bastard up front, and he's looking like he's not afraid to, be a bit mouthy, be a bit leery, and he looked quite lively for Chelsea.
I'll be honest with you, it was so refreshing to see a player, at least twice I can think of, that actually turned a player and then ran with it. Yeah. I mean, even at the lot, he probably should have released it to Mudryk a little bit earlier, for that chance at the end. But for him to Konate is a bastard himself. He's a big lad, and he will happily chug you over. And I don't think he was on a booking. At that point. I don't think he was ever on a booking the whole match. He
got booked in stoppage time, if I remember correctly.
Okay, but I think at that point he could have easily whacked him, and he didn't. I think he's got some hell of a strength. That guy, I have a lot of faith in him. He has a Drogba-esque way of playing. He just bombs on, doesn't he? Bombs on, and he gives us. Havertz would never be able to do what he did yesterday. He would never be able to, have Konate and Van Dijk breathing down his neck and just carry on. And every time you think he's going to release the ball, he doesn't. He's just got the ability to actually go, I'm going to carry on and carry on and carry on. I actually thought he was the man of the match. I really did. I thought he was brilliant, Jackson. I thought he was absolutely excellent.
I'll throw this one back through to you, Charlie, because obviously you've been quite critical of the fee that was paid for Enzo Fernandez. You were talking about man of the matches. I think Enzo actually won the man of the match for the actual performance in midfield. Are you starting to see the signs of the price tag that Chelsea paid for him?
Yeah, I think once we've got Caicedo and Lavia in the team, I think maybe so. Yeah, I thought he had a really good game yesterday. Granted, but I think that Jackson actually was really refreshing. The way that he did his business, it was just refreshing. We haven't had a player like that for a long time at Chelsea. We've had Giroud, we've had Havertz, we've had these sort of players who just back to the goal and just kind of hope that someone's there to flick it onto. For someone to actually just take a defense on, that's what we need, and that was really refreshing actually.
I'm
Yep.
conscious of time, so I think the one we could have talked about, Ugo Chukwu made his debut. Mudryk came on, had those chances at the end. Ian Matson, but I think a player I want to discuss. We did initially touch on Conor Gallagher's potential to go down that route. I think a player I wanted to discuss. This is the area that we all differed in terms of if he had a good game or not, and that's Carney Chukwuemeka. I felt he felt very early on. I think with the whole midfield for Chelsea in the first 30 minutes we were poor, but I think Chukwuemeka grew into the game. He's looking like a player that could be very, very strong, hold the ball and make that passes. I thought he had a good game, but I know Tem and Charlie, you thought different.
Tim.
Yeah, like I say, again, lack of inexperience. I think that's just the main point of all of them. Like we just, it's something I think we need to work on, and something I think we need to get in. It's something that Pochettino alluded to as well. So I hope the club can somehow rectify that, and I think it will help us in the long term this season, especially when you're sustaining a lot of pressure coming towards your goal. You just need sometimes that cool head or someone who knows how to see out a game or just calm the levels down, because I think you see it with a lot of high level teams where it's sort of like, oh, we come at you, you go at us, you come at we go at us. But you see it with the best teams, Man City, Arsenal, whatever, they're able to slow down a game or contain a team to the point of they just get frustrated, not like make it sort of a ping pong match. And I feel like that was something that was evident with us under Lampard, that 2019-20 season, where it would be a lot of end-to-end football. And, we got top four with that, but I feel like throughout 90 minutes, we won't be able to sustain that all the time. I don't know if you agree, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just an area that I feel that we're really lacking is experience. Yes, we got rid of a load of players that are probably grossly overpaid and underperformed, but we do need that air of experience. And whilst we are bringing in, Caicedo and Romeo Lavia, looking like we might bring him in as well, I think we need that area in midfield, somebody that can be that person to kind of show the players how to do it. And Sterling, I think, had one of his better games in a Chelsea shirt. Not quite back to the Sterling we all know and he's capable of, but he's potentially going to be that person that's going to help direct the areas over there. But it's very, very interesting. Charlie's had to drop off a little bit, so I've just removed him from the stream just for continuity, and then we'll bring him back in just a second. But I think the key thing we need to move across here now is to the new signings in the midfield. Yay! It's finally done after weeks upon weeks upon weeks of back and forth. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? Then Liverpool come in, and then the price drives up, and we. Initially Brighton only wanted 100 million, and then we offered 80, and then Liverpool come in and offer 111, and then we go, okay, here's 115. We'll get him signed. But Moises Caicedo has rejected Liverpool's late approach, saying it has only been Chelsea for him, and he signs for 100 million with a fee that could rise potentially to 115 million pounds. Charlie, I know you've just rejoined us, but Moises Caicedo finally done. You were quite passionate that we needed somebody, and we needed Caicedo to be joined by Sunday. I didn't think it was going to happen. You and I had a friendly wager of £5 that he wasn't going to be in the starting lineup, and I'd like to say Charlie did pay up that £5 and donated it to a food bank on my behalf. So Charlie, how pleased at you that we finally got that across the line?
Well, I think we had to, didn't we, all along? It showed on Sunday yesterday that we needed at least one or two midfielders on top of Enzo. So it's good that we finally got that over the line, and we can just push on. And I think we've now got a team, if you like. It seems like we've got a team. What do you think, Tom?
I think I think a key thing for this signing for Moises Caicedo is it's going to bring value to Enzo Fernandez. And I think we're going to get the best out of Enzo Fernandez, having somebody that's going to sit in that position. He is going to play that. I think I discussed it on the podcast a few weeks ago, probably over a month or so ago now. But in the 4-2-3-1, the way that Pochettino likes to line up his players, he generally will have like a holding midfielder sit and be a de facto centre back. So it'll allow for Reece James to bomb forward, it'll allow for Ben Chilwell to bomb forward as well, and have us sit back in a 3 for a 4-2-3-1. And having that Caicedo type player that's going to mop up balls, going to stop that, clear the channels and stop those passes into those passing lanes, he's going to be such a pivotal role to help bring the best out of Enzo Fernandez. And I think we're going to see something potentially very, very special. And it's this could be our midfield for the next 6, 7, 8 years, performing at a high level, and they're only going to get better. So I'm interested to see how they perform. I'd be curious to think, Tem, do you think Caicedo's going to go straight into the team for West Ham on Sunday?
Yeah, I do. I think he'll start alongside Enzo. I'm not sure about Gallagher. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him, actually, because the rumour is that Chelsea are potentially looking at either selling or loaning a player. So it depends who that could be. Could it be Ugochukwu, or is it going to be Gallagher potentially going to West Ham? Because I think they were very interested in signing him for about 40, 50 million, or whatever it was quoted. I'm not exactly sure. So, but I think Caicedo walks straight into that team, and if he doesn't, he'll soon come off the bench because, like I say, that midfield and I think the attacking areas are still problems of Chelsea to sort out for the rest of the season, really. So we'll see what happens there.
It'd be interesting, Charlie, what happens to Conor Gallagher, because where does he fit now? Do you see him potentially staying in the team as being somebody that's going to play in that number 10 position? Because, he actually performed quite well in central midfield. It's not his area that he's known for playing. He likes to play a little bit further forward. He's got that relentless energy. But where does he fit in Pochettino's plans?
I don't think he's going to be necessarily a starter every single game, but he's one of those utility players that you need in a squad if he's happy to do that job. A little bit like Loftus-Cheek, a little bit like whoever, John Obi Mikel. These sort of players who over the years you actually appreciate their value. Yes, he's not going to come on the pitch and score a goal from the halfway line. But over, he's a disciplined player. I think he trains very well, from what I've heard, and also he's got a good attitude about him. From what he run, and I think we need that in the dressing room. And he's Cobham, he's Chelsea, so I think that's got to be a positive.
Yeah. I think like last season, I was very critical of Gallagher, especially on the back of his season before and his loan to Crystal Palace. And, I think we're very, very likely to see Ugochukwu go out to Strasbourg on loan. And then we also have, Andre Santos as well, another player that's able to play in that position. Not necessarily, I think Santos is more going to play in the position of, if Enzo's not playing, Santos will play. So it'd be intriguing to see. I personally wouldn't like us to sell him, but I also don't think he should go out on loan either. But it's just I'm struggling to kind of see where he kind of fits in the system, and if he's happy to be that kind of role player, or if he's willing to go back out on loan for another season. Or the problem is we have now, and this is a discussion a lot of people have having, online, is about Chelsea spending, close to £900 million spent in the last 3 windows so far. The problem is with those Cobham bought players is they are pure profit. And he's probably going to be one of the first names on the chopping block alongside Trevor Chalobah. And I think it's a shame to say. I don't want to lose that kind of identity. We kind of lost it a little bit when Mason Mount decided to jump ship and join Manchester United. But it'd be intriguing to see what happens. And I'm hoping, on September the 1st, he remains in the team, but we shall see. One thing we've learned as Chelsea fans, that absolutely anything can happen with this club and nothing will surprise us. Another thing that we need to bring up as well, it's looking very, very likely as well that not only did one central defensive midfielder reject Liverpool, another one rejected Liverpool, and I can't tell you how much that brings me such great happiness because I cannot stand Liverpool. Romeo Lavia is looking to join Chelsea from Southampton for a £50 million fee, and this is another example of a player that we're signing under the age of, I think he's 20 years old. He's another young player, but it's not an area particularly. It's an area we need reinforcement in, Timber, but it's not the experience they kind of need in that position, is it?
No, and it's quite interesting. We've signed both of them. I thought we probably would have stopped at one, but I guess we, because of Joe Shield's connection with Southampton, he thought this is the perfect time to bring the player in, and clearly the club thinks so as well. So I think we'll end up having 4 or 5 midfielders now?
Yeah, we got Ugochukwu, Andre Santos, Gallagher, Fernandez,
And Caicedo.
Caicedo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very deep in that area now, and I think we're lacking that kind of experience.
Yeah. So again, I think it's just I don't know if it's way too overstacked at the moment because of the formation we play. Because if you think about it, even Chukwuemeka could qualify for one of those positions as well. You know, so who goes out is the interesting question. But Lavia, I'm sure he's probably kind of understood. He may not start every game. He's probably here for the long term in terms of play the bench for maybe this season and work yourself in. If we get ourselves into Europe next season, then maybe more opportunity to play and start. But yeah, like I say, I'm just totally surprised that him and Caicedo both really want to join Chelsea. I hope this is a long term thing now where people take us as a serious club still and. Think of us as a club where they're going to win things. That was a definite worry of mine, where I thought, do players really want to come here for Chelsea Football Club, or do they just want to come here for the actual wage packet? When we signed players like Sterling and Aubameyang, I started to worry about that. But now that young players who haven't won anything are here, I suppose it shows them that this is a club where they can, start finding success here. And I think it's something over the last 15, 20 years where we've been a club where players have famously come here to win trophies. You saw it with Fernando Torres and the likes, where they may not have achieved success at their own club and thought, oh, you know what? Well, the next best thing to do is be at Chelsea. Even if I'll have a terrible time, I'll still win trophies. And I think that's what we all want for our football club.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm quite aware of is it's approaching a decade, with the wrong side of 5 years of the last time we won a Premier League title, and there's been a kind of a decline here. And it's like what you're saying. I was worried that we're not an attractive club anymore. Well, yes, we have the opportunity of living in London. A lot of players want to live in London, but the way that things are, we're kind of down here, and Arsenal's kind of on the rise. And you can see those type of players that are looking more swayed by Arsenal. And I want to make sure that we retain as being the number one club in London. Charlie, I forgot my train of thought here. It's not good for somebody that's leading the podcast, is it? I think one of the things that it might be worth considering as well is the depth in midfield does give Pochettino options in terms of moving to potentially a 4-3-3, or even pushing Enzo Fernandez further forward and playing as a number 10 himself, and having Lavia and Caicedo playing as in a double pivot in potentially a more defensive game or against stronger opposition. Do you think that could be an option that could be utilised by Pochettino?
I'll be honest. I think that's the plan. I don't understand why it wouldn't be. Those are you've got to play to your strengths. Those are the best players. We've signed. If we do sign Lavia for, was it 50 million pounds? That's a lot of money, right? If we sell Gallagher for 40 million pounds, 50 million pounds, so be it. Who else is there? I think you play to your strengths. You look at your squad. You look at what you've got, and then you work out your formations from there. That's kind of what we did yesterday. We looked at what we have. We're very overstacked in the defensive line, so we put 3 at the back. We've got 2 brilliant wing backs, so we use them to our advantage. We're not particularly good at the top, so we use the Reece James going forward, and we pull Chilwell very far forward because we know that we're not that great at the top. Do you understand? So that's going to have to be the avenue, and it was the avenue in the end. Okay, and I think that's obviously the weakness. That's the reason why we were forced to kind of do that, is because the weakness is clearly in the middle. So now that we've got the middle, it plays into our hands. We can kind of do what we want now. We can do 3 at the back, we can do 4 at the back, we can do 5 at the back, and do whatever we want. Okay, but I think they're both starters. I really do. I think it'll be two of them and 1, and then obviously if 1 gets injured, we've got the option of 1 and 2.
That's definitely something that we lacked last year, with that strength and depth. In that period in January when we had a lot of injuries, we were really struggling to get a side out that's pretty competent. That was evident. I did have a little bit of look at the list for what we got in terms of the first team squad at the moment, and we're still looking quite big. In terms of
I looked at that.
Bloated, and we're with the income of Romeo Lavia coming in, we're back up to like 28 players. It's quite a lot, and I am including, the third choice goalkeepers like Lucas Bergstrom and Eddie Beach as well in that list. And I appreciate they're probably not likely to stay, potentially going to go back on loan, play some more games in the under 21s. Who realistically do you think is probably going to be leaving the club before the end of the window? I'm not including players like Malang Sarr. I'm not including Hudson-Odoi. I've not included Lukaku. I've not included Ziyech in that list. It's pretty much a given that these players are going anyway. They're not going to be utilised this year. But who do you think is probably going to get on the chopping block 10? It's probably going to go up, potentially, being sold or going to go out on loan.
So, having a quick look at the squad, I think it will be Ugochukwu will be sent out on loan.
Mm-hmm.
I also think Conor Gallagher may be sold. And possibly Amanda Broja could be sent out on loan as well. And I'm not sure if Diego Moreira counts as a first team player because I've seen that
he's an under 21 player.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see about the rest because is Chalobah still on the books?
Yeah,
he is. Yeah, still currently. It's
yeah.
looking likely. Inter Milan have reignited their interest in him very, very recently. It's looking like he potentially could go to Inter Milan. But again, he's another player I don't want to see leave. But where does he fit? Where does he fit? That's the thing.
And I'm not sure if is he currently injured or.
Yes,
yeah, he must be. Yeah. He was on the bench yesterday. I saw him in the background on the bench.
Okay, so
he was in the dugout. I don't think he wasn't named on the bench, but I think he was in the dugout. I know what you mean though. Yeah.
Right. So if he's fit, Lewis Hall set to go on loan. Are you including him in the list?
Lewis Hall is set to go on loan. Yeah, he's joining Crystal Palace. He is not on the list.
Right. So we still have 28 without that.
Still got 28. I think Amanda Broja is potentially. I don't think he's going to go out on loan because of the Nkunku injury, unless we sign a striker. Because otherwise we've just got Nicolas Jackson. And it's like what Charlie was saying. Charlie made a very, a salient point. If Jackson goes, who do we have to play up front? And it's just Amanda Broja. There's nobody else that can play in that position.
Is Malang Sarr in there?
Malang Sarr is not included on this list. No, I've not included him. Yeah.
What's David Fofana doing these days?
He's on loan to Union Berlin. He's on loan to them there. So he's gone
out. So basically, if Jackson gets injured, that's it. We've got Nkunku, but he's injured. So we have to keep Broja. Basically, we've got no option.
I think we're probably going to keep unless we sign a striker, which I don't think we're going to do. If I'm completely
apparently the club are looking at one, and is Caicedo on there as well?
Caicedo's gone out on loan to Leicester,
so he's not on the 28 you're talking about.
No,
it is bloated. It is bloated.
It's bloated again, and it's looking how we're going to fit these players in. I know there's been rumours for Marc Cucurella to go out on loan to Newcastle. If they come in for him, I think I will gladly accept that because I think he needs some confidence elsewhere because we've got Ian Maitson to be able to play in that position.
Oh,
Temmy's shaking your head. Did you think we would have got Chilwell?
Yeah, I was thinking you can't, and it was something Gary Neville said. It was like something I said last season myself, but it's something like you can't rely on Reece James and Chilwell all season.
No,
sorry, but you just can't. So it's important to have good backup for him, and I think we did do that well with bringing in Gusto and obviously Ian Maatsen, who I completely forgot was the left back because he hasn't been playing left back since he's been back at Chelsea. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a chance at left back, but clearly it doesn't look like he's being viewed as a left back at the moment. So the next best option really is it Cucurella, or are we going to play Cowell or maybe Badiashile at left back? Who knows?
I can't see. I think it's going to be Maitson. I think it will. I can't see him going out on loan this season. I think from what we saw in pre-season, because he's got the ability to play a left wing back, he can play as a left winger, he can play as a right winger. I think he's going to be kept to kind of cover that depth in that region. As sad as it makes me, I think Trevor Chalobah, and I think you're right, it's Trevor and Connor. They're the next ones that's probably on the chopping block. There's no other area really other than Marc Cucurella going on loan. We're not going to get much of a fee for him. It's bizarre. I'm not too sure what's going to happen. Charlie, I want to ask you a question as well. Obviously, we've got Robert Sanchez now. Do we still need to go in the market for a goalkeeper as a second choice?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't know why that's not even a good question.
Cheers.
No, but
Sometimes I have to ask the obvious question.
No, but we have to, don't we? I think I can't. I'm not saying that he's a bad goalkeeper, but I think we're clearly, now that we've lost Kepa and Mendy, we need another Kepa or Mendy, don't we? Surely,
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, Tim, do you not think it could be an opportunity to give it to, Lucas Bergstrom's been in the reserves playing for the under-21s? Why can't you just bring him in for cup games?
Because you don't know if Sanchez is going to get injured. And I think it's also notorious that goalkeepers do miss like a few games throughout the season. I'm not sure if Sanchez is Spain's number one, is he?
No.
No, he's not. I think he's in the top three, but he's not the number one. David Raya, I think, is number one at the moment.
Okay, right.
I'll wiki it. I'll listen. I'll keep listening, but I'll wiki it.
Yeah, okay, right. But even so, I think it's important to have a good experienced number two. I think Sanchez is 25, so he still has a long way to go in terms of being the very, very best in his position. So, having an experienced man right behind him is probably going to teach him a few things, and especially if the number two has Premier League experience, then even better for us, really. I saw rumours of Kasper Schmeichel probably coming back, but those were downplayed. So I'm not sure on who would actually look as a number two instead of someone with Premier League experience. I think that's going to be a hard task to find.
I think it's David De Gea, lads. I think we've got to go for him.
No, it's not. It's definitely not David De Gea. He hasn't been in this Spain. Oh, you mean it? Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about Spain number one.
Number two. No, the number one is Dale rightly says here. I just had a look. It was Unai Simon. He's number one, and then Kepa and David Raya are the number two and number three. I'm conscious of time. We try to keep this to an hour, so we're just going to swiftly move on in this scenario. We're going to look forward to, is it Saturday or Sunday we're playing? I can't remember. Sunday, 4 p.m. again, same time. Chelsea go to West Ham last season. I can't remember what happened. Was that the season that Mount scored a really good goal?
No, Felix scored.
Oh, Felix scored, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, João Felix scored, and
then Cucurella had a howler for the second, I think, if I remember rightly.
I can't remember, but I'm feeling positive about this game. West Ham, they haven't invested other than they've brought in a player that Chelsea would link to Edson Alvarez, who may potentially start. But we're also going to have Moises Caicedo as well. So, how are you feeling going into this game, Tem? Do you think it's possible that this is an opportunity for Chelsea to start the momentum, get the first 3 points of the season?
Yeah, I was just on the side point. I was very surprised to see them name Zuma as captain. Odd choice as that one. I never saw him as captain material, but I think we are going into that game as favourites. However, last few years, I think West Ham have definitely been our bogey team. We've definitely not played well against them. We shouldn't have got 3 points against them. Was it last season or the season before?
Yeah, that was the game we played at home when it was Havertz, and it was definitely it wasn't a penalty. I remember being adamant that it was a penalty, like in the moment, and then when I calmed down 3 hours later, I was like, oh no, it definitely isn't.
Yeah. And I think Jared Bowen always danger man against us. He definitely causes us problems. I'd look out for Cresswell and some Thomas Souček and Paqueta. I think they've got a decent team. However, I think we often play down to West Ham's level when we play against them. We don't really assert our dominance when we're playing West Ham. So that's something I definitely want to see. I want to see us, really pin them back and score the first goal this time to force them to come out. Because a lot of the time, I think they usually get the first goal on us, and then we're sort of scrambling to try and get that goal, and we really play into their game that way. So I think to make the game easier for ourselves, we really need to get that first goal and an early one as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Charlie, how are you feeling about approaching the game on Sunday? Again, I think with any Chelsea game this season, I'm looking forward. I'm seeing every game as a clean sheet and an opportunity for us to kick on. How are you feeling about it? What do you think the final score is going to be?
Well, I don't know what the final score is going to be, but what I can tell you is it's a London derby, and it's going to be a very good test. It's a perfect test almost for what we've just come off. We've come off a very experienced Liverpool team. an experienced manager, and we're going into an away match in a derby against who've come off. They've just won the Europa Conference League. They've just signed Ward-Prowse today, I think, as well.
Yeah, Ward-Prowse as well, signed for 30 million.
Right, so they're going to have threat from all sorts of set plays and this sort of stuff. I think it's a good time to play them. I think if we can get 3 points, I think that is a huge boost. I think it's a really good 3 points if we get the 3 points. We can't afford to lose it. I really do think that. I think we'll be walking backwards again if we lose that match. If we get a draw, okay, we can regroup. We've got Luton at home the next. We can get the 3 points there, but we need to get some points on the board now. And I think it's a good opportunity, and it's a good 3 points. It's a strong 3 points, even if it's a 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, 4-3, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Even if both teams are down to 8 men, it doesn't matter. It's about getting the 3 points, and if we can do that, and we move into that Luton game, and we can smash Luton the week after, I think that's a really nice start to the season, isn't it?
How do we all do on the predictions last week? I think I ended up going with 2-1 Chelsea. So I think I was marginally out. I know Temba, you said 3-1 to Liverpool. Charlie, did you say draw?
I said draw. Yeah,
0-0.
Nil.
Nil.
I'll admit that. I'll admit that.
Score draw. You still get it right. So we should probably do some sort of tally predictions for it. Let's go around. Tem, what do you reckon the final score is going to be?
1-1.
1-1. Okay, another draw. Another score draw. Charlie, what do you reckon it's going to be?
A really scrappy 1-0 Chelsea.
And then Mr. Positive, I'm going to go. I think it's going to be 2-0 to Chelsea. Wow. I think we'll keep a clean sheet, and I think we will score some goals. I don't know where from. Maybe Nicolas Jackson with his first goal for Chelsea. But we shall see when we come back next week at 9:30 p.m. We do this every week, every Monday at 9:30 p.m. So make sure you don't miss a single thing. If you hit that subscribe button, like I said, we are trying to get 100 subscribers by the end of August. So please help us out. We have been live on the YouTube channel. What the hell am I talking about? We have been live on TKS TV and on YouTube. I appreciate you all for joining us. Thanks very much, chaps. I'll see you all next week.
Yeah. Peace.
Cheers.